morning, good afternoon, good evening. I offer whatever suits your time zone. More importantly, I say blue morning to you all. And if you're in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me. Good morning to you, DJ Saab. Always good to see you around in this channel, supporting and helping us grow. I appreciate that. And big up to you, Almighty Blues FC Ankit. I appreciate you in it. But more importantly, congratulations for getting monetized. It's never easy. You put in the work and you deserve the success you've had so far. And today we have a lot to talk about. More importantly, we will talk about the rumors that our beloved owner, the most wonderful owner in the whole world of football, Roman Abramovich. More importantly, first, he's a fan before an owner. He didn't put profit first. He spent a lot of money to get the club to where it is today. Yes, the club has had some measure of success before he bought the club, but he took the whole thing to another level. And then we'll talk about players who are running out of contract, including Andreas Christensen, even Cesar Azpilicueta, N'Golo Kante, Antonio Rudiger, and others. It just looks as if it's going to be an exodus at Chelsea this year. And hopefully the exodus doesn't affect us in a very bad way. My hopes is that it will be an exodus that will lead to, a step further to another. That is a new era, maybe where things are done differently, but for good. And I am happy to have Stav in the studio. I will bring him in to start discussing this topic with us. And I appreciate him to always being available. As you know, the Blue Morning Show is designed to be a two-panel show. Then as the show progresses with an agreement with the guests, we can make it an open panel. But this is looking more likely as a topic that will most definitely be an open panel. So let me bring on the guests. Welcome back to Chelsea Perspective.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on again.
It's always good to have you available because your knowledge of the club and the game overall in the Premier League and the situation. While we do that, I'm just gonna play the intro one more time and then share the screens I want to share. Yes, this is the Blue Morning Show. So one more time, do enjoy the intro. Yeah, so let's start looking at what's out there. The first one I wanted to look about was the one I got from DJ Antara right now. Big up to you, brother. Always good to see you around. I think I have some special people in the chat, and if they have interest, I'd be willing to make it an open panel. Stav, I hope you permit me to do so.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Love it. Okay, I'll open it in a bit. Now, let's start by looking at this tweet right here by Nicola, I think, Infeld. It says, exclusive, Swiss billionaire Hansburg Wiest. I don't know how to, hopefully I'm not murdering his name. Wiest is considering a purchase of Chelsea FC as he reveals today in an interview. The owner and Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich is afraid of sanctions and wants to sell the club to Wiest, among others. I think that's, to me, it's a scary situation because what makes Roman so special is that, first of all, he's a fan, then an owner. He never puts profit first. He's always, prioritized the success of the club. He's pumped in his money years after years to ensure the club got to the level where it is today. I saw Oh, thank you very much, DJ. I saw I think a tweet saying, yeah, Chelsea will be here even after Roman is gone. That is the truth. But the truth is, Roman is the man who single-handedly led the club to the level at which it is today, which is a higher level than it was before the man bought the club. Yes, Chelsea has had success before the man bought the club. Yeah, but the truth is, the man is the person that led the club to its most, that is to its most recognized success, if I'm allowed to phrase it that way. So, Stav, coming to you before I put the link in the chat. What do you think about this whole? I could call it a conundrum, given the situation with the owner also, and then given the situation of players who are running out of contract. A lot of them actually.
Right, this guy, Weiss or Weiss, whatever his name is, he's Swiss, but he lives in the US. Now, I've seen two things. One story is this one. I'm not really sure why Roman would reach out to him directly. The guy's 86, so for me, I don't want him straight away. Don't want anybody who's 86. And he used to have a pharmaceutical company or something, and he sold it to Johnson.
I think that's the case. Yes.
Right. So that's how he's made his money. But that's one of the stories I've heard.
Here's the thing. Go ahead. I wanted to say something, but if you wanted to go ahead. I wanted to say something about this comment by Tyrone. I think that should be the most important question that we should be asking right now. Tyrone writes, and by the way, big up to you, Tyrone. And if you're in the chat, I think everybody in the chat here already knows about Tyrone's. Tyrone, this one is Tyrone, and let me not mix it up with my other brother, Tyrone. Tyrone has a channel. He's a kid, but he knows football very well. The question, this thing is a very, very, very powerful comment. I think the question will soon become, to whom will Abramovich sell Chelsea? That is a very important question because he's a very unique owner. We have other owners in the who own Premier League clubs, but they're not run as the way Chelsea is run. Chelsea is different in terms of the owner we have. First of all, he's a Chelsea fan before an owner because he hasn't put profit first. Even after the arrival of Marina, who's a shrewd negotiator. We thought maybe the club is switching things to, the club is becoming more and more profit focused, but that has never been the case. His priority has always been to make sure the club is always successful. So why I'm talking about this comment right here is because I think Roman himself will forever remain a Chelsea fan. I think his children will be. But I think before he sells, he'll probably most likely prioritize a buyer who's first of all a Chelsea fan. I don't think he would just sell it to anybody that comes around. I think that he knows them. If in fact he was the person that approached the supposed Swiss buyer, potential buyer, if you like, he knows them very well and knows he would take good care of the club. But right now, I still haven't given up the man remaining Chelsea's owner. What do you think, Stav?
Yeah, some of the things that this Weiss, I'll call him Weiss, this guy Weiss has said publicly, I think there's an element of attention seeking, right? I'm not gonna like divulge what he said. If people want to see what he said, they can go and find the article and they can read it themselves. But a couple of things he said that I'm not really keen on. Personally speaking, I wouldn't want him, not at that age. And the way he's projecting the whole issue makes me not want him as well. Basically besmirching Roman in a manner. I'm not going to say what. The other reports I've seen, right, started with the Daily Telegraph, and that would be Matt Law.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure Mr. Matlaw has an in to the club anymore. He used to before via a certain player, but I don't think he has that in anymore. And the fact that the Daily Express, the Sun, all these other news media platforms, they're all quoting the Telegraph. Okay, they're all quoting the Telegraph, and the majority of them, the Sun have said there's 4 prospective buyers. The rest are just saying 3. Right. I think there's an element. I'm not going to say he's never going to sell. I'm not going to say he hasn't thought about it yet. Right. No one can really judge what Roman's thinking or what he's planning. But the fact that too many people basing everything on the Daily Telegraph means that they don't have any information themselves, but they want to be part of the story. So when the Daily Express is basing itself on the Telegraph, 90 minutes, goal, all these online media outlets, they're all basing it on the Telegraph. And yeah,
here's the thing. This the most important thing you said right now is that there is some element of truth in it, and actually it's even more right now. So I'm going to share my screen and show you something here. It's gone beyond quoting Daily Telegraph here. If you look at now, I'm just going to do a Google search quickly, so you see how much we have. Just an update. This is 55. This was 55 minutes ago, an hour ago, 31 minutes ago, 1 hour ago, 45 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. That shows you it's really picking up. And this is not a matter of what Daily Telegraph said and who's quoting Telegraph. I think it's gone beyond that right now. And coming to your comment, yeah.
Have you actually read any of them?
Yeah, I read one. Most importantly, the one I got from DJ, I took seriously, and I read it. And I think I've read the headlines also. I think it's getting serious. But the question should be, if in fact it's true. Yeah, I'll come back to you, Star. But I understand your point. Some of them I just wanted to, just some of those outlets want to be part of the story. They can't, because that's what the media do. If you stay dormant in this kind of situation, you seem like you don't have access to real information. So they'll all pounce on it to make it seem like to remain relevant, if I'm allowed to phrase it that way. So I'm going to come back to you, Star. Now, to you, DJ, what do you think about the story? I think you're on mute. I think it's not just me. Can we all hear DJ? I think we still cannot hear you, no?
No, I can't hear anything.
Yeah. So let's wait. Let me go to Tyrone, where DJ finds a solution to his problem. Tyrone, what do you think about the situation?
Well, I mean, it's like I said, I think it's a case of who or to whom will he sell Chelsea to, because it's pretty unfortunate, because he's probably the best representation of an owner who's actually a fan at heart as well. It's unfortunate that everything that's happened, the situation that has led to him having to make this decision, because obviously it's not a decision that he would like to make at this very moment, but there's proof about how much he loves the club in the fact that he's doing this before things escalate to something where the club will be placed in a horrible light, and people be saying certain things and disrespect the club and say that they have such and such as their owner and things like that. So he's doing this because of all the love. And I haven't used analogies in a long time, but what I can use is that it's like, I have to use this because it's quite, the best I could use. It's like with a case of, you're a male and there's this female and something happens, and because of out of love you decide to take a step back and to make a decision that will benefit that person before it gets to the point where they're affiliated, or the conclusion is that they're affiliated with somebody who's doing this or they're doing that. So I think, in a sense, it's difficult for fans who actually, understand the impact that Ruben has done and everything that he's done to help in the success that this club has built. Obviously, the situation is who will come in. I'm not going to, because I don't think there's anybody on the face of this earth who's going to be showing the exact same love that he has. But it's not difficult to find somebody who's going to be willing to put funds into the club. There's some other things that need to be done, like the stadium needs, refurbishing and everything. There's other things that need to be done. But if we get somebody in who's able to, have the same frame of mind that I want to help this team become successful consistently, then there's no issue. But most of the time, Roman has made decisions based on of his love for the club, based on being a fan at heart as well. So sometimes you look at things from the fans' perspective, and that's what you see when it comes on to sacking certain managers. I mean, he came as a surprise when he sacked Lampard, and he came on, made a statement about it. That's not something that's common of him, but because he knows that Lampard had a legendary status, he didn't want to just do it and not say something, because he understands from some fans' perspective that you're sacking the all-time goal scorer for the club. There's going to be a lot of feelings around that. So even though he's going to be leaving, I think he's doing it in a professional way, because him doing it now is going to benefit the club before it escalates to something that will put the club in a horrible light, because you're affiliated to somebody who's a Russian. Even though I don't understand that narrative.
Here's the thing, and I appreciate that input. He's so special, and you could argue that's one of the reasons why rival fans are jealous of us, and that's one of the reasons why they want us to lose him. But before I say what I want to say here, I'll come back to it the moment I get DJ's input. Then I'll come back to where that is. The fact is, we're in for a shock with Chelsea fans, because I think we'll witness a change in culture in terms of how we do things. Probably, I think we will learn a lot that we've been spoiled for a while. So go ahead, DJ. What do you think about the situation, and do you think it will happen?
The more and more report. Can you guys hear me this time now?
Yes, crystal clear.
Excellent. Yeah, listen, it seems like there's more and more reports coming out today now. Twitter is just going absolutely crazy. BBC are now reporting it. It's going crazy now that it looks like they're saying that he could lose Chelsea because the Swiss billionaire has made an approach, or has made an approach to buy the football club off him. But I don't know where you want to read that. Apparently, there's been talks that Roman apparently spoke to him about buying the club off him. I don't know how much of that is true. But what's worrying me about this whole situation is obviously this. I don't know much about this Swiss billionaire. I know Stav was giving some information on him earlier on. I don't know much about him.
Can I say this quickly, if you don't mind, please? Apologies to you. The fact that it's been rumored that Roman approached the man, knowing how much he loves the club and knowing that he's a fan before an owner. If he really was the person that approached the man, then I don't have a problem with that. He's an intelligent man. If you ask me, I'd say either he's setting it up to a way that he gets a chance to buy it back later on, or he's selling it to somebody he knows will take care of the club. But go ahead, DJ.
See what's worrying me about this whole. As I said, I don't know much about this guy who's buying the club. I think his wealth is about 5 billion. As far as I know. Secondly, what I'm hearing today's latest news is that there's he's going to be using a consortium, and the two consortium people that apparently have been mentioned that could be coming in with him are from America. So it looks like they're going to be it's not obviously going to be this guy, but he's going to get help from two guys from America that may be looking to invest with him in the football club. Now, for me, I'm not knocking things here, but that for me in itself is alarm bells ringing, because if anyone knows about about this whole situation. Where I'm getting to on this, you just have to look at Manchester United, Liverpool, and Arsenal to realise how badly run their football clubs have been. Okay, with that kind of ownership in place, if it's to be true, because we all know they all take money out of the football club, and if these guys are coming in with this guy, I don't know if this guy is going to be playing his own money in, because as we've already Tyrone's already alluded to it, the stadium for one thing is going to probably need to be I don't know, a high capacity crowd. I hope to God we won't leave our spiritual home, because that's something I don't want us to do, because Stamford Bridge, as far as I know, is Chelsea. I hope we stay there and you can extend that. But there's a lot of things that's going to be done. But from what I'm understanding, what I'm reading of this whole stuff is he's saying Chelsea don't have the money to have the money in place to even pay Roman back. I don't know how much of that is true. There's a lot of things twist and starts in this whole stories.
Yeah, I think to that aspect, I think that is the truth. That is the truth, because I think a few days ago it was with Starve. I don't know if you were here for that show, that episode of Blue Morning, where we talked about, I think it was a financial expert who analyzed the situation, because, Putin can be brutal in terms of strategies. If he wants to get at any country, he can do it in so many ways. Because the fact is, if Roman calls in the loan, Chelsea will go bankrupt. Because remember, this past year we had a loss of 140 million plus.
Yes, we did.
You understand? So if he calls in the loan, the club will go into minus. Because if you lost money, that means you don't have. It's just plain black and white to understand. So I hope, but I'm even glad that he's not calling in the loan, because if he's pressured to do that, if Stav remembers the day we talked about it, I talked about what if Putin pressures him to call in the loan just to cause problems, because it will affect the country economically, whether anybody likes it or not. People will lose their jobs, and the club will start functioning. So it will affect the country in one way or the other. And like the analyst said, Putin will now say, "You started it, not me," because he's brutal enough to use whatever that's available to him as a weapon. But go ahead, DJ. Let me let you finish. Sorry.
No, that's. I mean, and there's also talk that he's looking to. I mean, the only thing that's coming out of it is I'm also reading talks that he's looking to sell the club for 2.6 billion. There's talks of 3 billion. There's talks of 4 billion. So I don't know what amounts he's looking to sell or what the situation is on that. So there's just all these figures at this moment in time that are coming out. One thing I'll say about it all is, as much as all this speculation is all going around about this owner, until it comes out on the Chelsea Fifth Stand app that this is what we're doing as a football club, I, for one, am trying not to believe it. I'm hoping it will still just go away until something is mentioned in a Chelsea statement that this is going to be happening, which I've not seen so far. For me, I'm hoping that this is just like all talk, but from all the reports that are going around today, it looks like Roman is looking to sell, and I'm hoping that may not be the case, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, it is really worrying times, and the truth is, sharks only flock where there's blood. Something there's like Stab did put it. There's something to it. It's not just a mere rumor. But I'm hoping it doesn't happen. Yes, Chelsea Viola, I'm an American, and I do not want any American to buy Chelsea Football Club. Why? Because there's hardly an American who's a hardcore, let me call it soccer follower, like they do call it here. They are profit focused. I think they will cause us a lot of problems. And we're going to talk about how, after I let Bobby come in, we will talk about how that potentially that is selling the club, how it can lead to a change in culture at Chelsea Football Club, and how that can affect us. Bobby, coming to you, good morning to you, by the way, and welcome back to Blue Morning on Chelsea.
Morning, guys.
On Chelsea Perspective. And again, I'm going to rephrase it. It is Blue Morning here, not good morning until it is noon. Then we can switch the language. So, Bobby, what do you think about the rumors? Because it's heating up. And how do you think that will affect the club?
Well, it seems very likely that the way this situation is going, Roman is going to be forced to sell the club. Not that he wants to, but I think he will be forced to sell the club. So we're all sort of preparing ourselves mentally for that to happen. We can only hope. A lot of all that's being said at the moment is a matter of speculation. You know, I suspect, and I don't know if I'm right, that maybe, you know, the government may have given him a kind of time limit. There may be some kind of agreement. That's why he's rushing to sell it, so they don't seize the assets from him. You know, none of us know. None of us really know.
Wow. By the way, that's a great point right there. Maybe he may have seen. Sorry, Bobby, I didn't mean to cut you off. He may have seen something like that, and then it's willing to sell it so it doesn't escalate and he loses everything. And also, the scary part, if you ask me, is that this is also a sign there's no end in sight to the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Because if he's able to see that this thing ends in a few days, he wouldn't be willing to sell his assets just in a hurry like that. So go ahead, Bobby. That's the scary part of this whole situation. Go ahead.
Well, you know, people simplify this whole thing. You know, yesterday, Stav quite rightly, or was it Stav? I can't remember who it was, quite rightly alluded to this whole situation in Yemen and the hypocrisy of the focus, excessive focus, if that can possibly be said, on Ukraine. Now, there is a far bigger agenda, a far bigger issue and motive at play here. And all these things are just excuses rather than reasons for how they're being panned out, as it were. But for us as Chelsea fans, we narrow it down to our immediate concern, all that we can be concerned about, really. Yes, we care about what's going on in Ukraine and all over the world, but, you know, there has been bloodshed in the world forever. And, you know, can we do anything about it? No. Can we be appalled about it? Absolutely. Do we feel bad about it? I don't think anybody has felt good for the past 5, 6, 7 days, as long as this thing has.
It looks like, can we still, and we lost Bobby. So I'm coming back to you, Stav. Stav, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Stav, what do you think, when Bobby comes, we'll let him continue, but given the situation, how do you think, because most definitely there will be some changes in terms of culture, which what I'm trying to refer to is how the club operates. If we get an owner who's profit focused, and I do remember when we talked about not spending too much, we don't have to spend too much to buy good players. I think on Chelsea perspective, yes. And I did say something about we should be mindful on how we're always going buy this player, buy the other players. What if something happens? I think I'll find that video. It is still on my channel. What if we lose Roman Abramovich and get an owner who's profit focused? What happens? I don't know if somebody here remembers that show. It's called Good Players Don't Have to Be Expensive. And it was Bobby that countered my argument saying, when that happens, we'll deal with it. So, Stab, my question is now, because most likely if the culture shifts, if there's a shift in culture and we get an owner who's profit focused, like DJ alluded just a few minutes ago, who take money from the club, because a lot of people will, if they invest in such a business, they want profit. I know Roman in the long run have a plan to get the club to somewhere, then start taking profits, but he's not going to prioritize that. What happens to the club? Because Tyrone said, was it Tyrone that said we will become another Arsenal or Manchester United who just profit focused, and then the success of the club becomes secondary? What happens, Stav? Because it's likely possible. There's a possibility that may happen.
Well, I'll answer that one quickly and then move on to something that I want to say. Right, just look at Man United, look at Arsenal, and look at Liverpool before Smith, the current guy, came in. Right, but I want to say something now. It seems that there's already been an acceptance that he's going to sell. Yeah. Now, I have my doubts that Roman would approach a guy, right, who's that old and could possibly not even be around, consortium or not, right? Because that guy's likely to lead the consortium if he's involved. And I also find it difficult to believe that if Roman did approach him, that he wouldn't have told him that it's got to be quiet, right, and just get on with it. Now, the guy's come out into the public domain, so that makes it questionable for me. The vast majority of the other things that I've seen, right, apart from the Sun, the only difference with the Sun is they're saying it's 4 people, right, not 3. The rest are saying 3, okay, and they are all basing it, the majority of them, on the Telegraph report, right, which is, like I said, Matt Law. Not one of them has named a single person in the other reports as to who it could be, right? Which is what makes me think that it's speculation. Bobby's back. Let Bobby carry on.
Okay, yeah, Bobby, go ahead. Thank you very much, Stav, for letting him carry on with what he was saying.
Yeah, thank you, Stav. My apologies. I don't know what happened. Though
it happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. Even the other day, I was kicked out. Stav had to carry on until it came back. So, yeah. And if I tell you how much I spent for the internet does that, you won't believe it. So go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the summary of what I was trying to say was that, look, the dynamics of how this is all getting played out, it's not nice. It's getting worse by the day, and not only for the people that are caught up in this war-torn situation, but with the things that's coming out of it. There seems to be this clamor to dislike Russians. There seems to be this whole thing that Ukraine is now placed as the place of virtue, and it's just such a weird situation. It really is, as tragic as it is. Yesterday I was on a platform where there was a guy that often comes on that platform, and we all know him. He is a Nigerian student, a medical student in the Ukraine. And the last time the host heard from him, he was saying things like, they weren't being allowed into air raid shelters during rocket attacks because they were Black Africans. And you get all these sort of horrible stories, and this guy hadn't been heard from for the past 2 days, and this was as at yesterday. So the whole thing just becomes more and more sickening, more and more unsavory. And I don't see, Roman has been dragged into it. He's become sort of the center piece for everybody's aggression as to what Putin is doing. I can't see a way back. And even the way things are, he won't be able to invest anything into Chelsea for fear of an uncertain future. So he has to sell. It's so sad, but he has to sell. My only prayer at this point in time is that I would like to think that Roman wouldn't sell to somebody that wouldn't do good by Chelsea. Or
that is not what I'm believing. That's what I'm hoping. Go ahead. And we're all hoping, I believe so.
Yeah, I just think he loves Chelsea, clearly. I know it would be absolutely breaking his heart for him to sell this club now. This was his dream. This was something he wanted to carry on with his sons and just continue with this progressive, fantastically successful club. But that dream has been attacked, shattered, whatever you want to call it. And I think he will still, because when you love something, you don't just stop like that. he will still
Yep.
try and sell it to somebody who
Yep.
will do good by Chelsea. Now, there are all sorts of permutations of this. You know, people are scared of American owners, and quite rightly so. There's this talk of this Swiss guy who is 86 years old, so I don't really know how that's going to pan out. I don't even know if he's got enough money. And there's all sorts going on out there. I like to take a positive view. And I just think, you know, wouldn't it be funny that upon all the people that have come out with hate and wanted to destroy Roman and indeed Chelsea, if he ends up pulling the rabbit out of the hat and selling Chelsea to people that are far richer than him and far more prepared to invest far more money? I mean, that would really be the trick.
It's oh my, I'm nearly at the point of, you know, that is, like I said, already I'm heartbroken because it's a worrying situation, and it's important that we recognize that that is multiple facets to this situation. First of all, we're losing one of the most wonderful owners of football clubs, and also it's a sign of the fact that it's been talked about. If in fact it is true that he wants to sell this club and in a hurry to sell this club, it means there's no end in sight. Again, I repeat myself, there's no end in sight to the awful situation in Ukraine and Russia. That is again the Ukraine-Russia crisis. There's no end in sight, because that's one of the main reasons he'd be considering to sell it. Because if there's end in sight, like in a few days or so, and it's been reported that he's part of those negotiating to find a peaceful solution to the crisis there. So probably if it's deciding to sell, he's seen that this is really not coming to an end. And from wherever you are in the world, you can see how the whole situation is escalating. Musk getting involved, helping the Ukrainians get internet connection with his satellite. The U.S. sanctioned Germans sending weapons, and even Russia's neighboring country. So it's looking like there's no end in sight, and I hope that's not the case. And our hearts go out to the Ukrainians and the Russians also, because they have relatives. They have that is a common border, because they were one country before. Our hearts go out to those that are suffering, who are in the center of this whole, crisis. So coming back again, the question is, Stav, and let me start with DJ. Then I'll let Stav and Tyrone come in there.
Yeah.
How is this going to affect the culture of Chelsea Football Club in terms of how we operate, how we do things? Because we're very different. We're very different in terms of our academy, how we, scout, how we buy players. Everything about the club is different. The club emerged as one of the most successful club in the past decade, the most generous club in the UK. The club fights anti-Semitism, fights discrimination of all sorts. The club does all sorts of good stuff around the world, not just in the UK. So how do you think, especially if we get an owner who's profit-focused or owners who are profit-focused, how do you think that will affect the culture of the club? Because hopefully, the truth is the rival fans will be praying for it to happen.
Yeah. Now, listen, it's not going to be as we know it as it is now. It's obviously going to be completely different. I think we're going to go down a different model. My worry, obviously, is the model route that we're going to go down will be, I'm sorry to say the names, but Stav has already mentioned those names: Manchester United, Arsenal, and Liverpool. My concerns are we may go down that road, but at the same time, like Bobby's also said, and I think I've said it as well, Roman would be careful about who he sells the football club to. But having said all that, if we end up going to the wrong person, then we're not going to see what we're seeing now. I mean, people talk about the youth players. Yeah, maybe the youth players might get a bit more game time in the team now. We might have them as our assets to try and keep at the club, get more. The only looking on that one is they'll probably get more game time to play matches. I don't think a new owner is going to plough into the transfer market as much as Roman is doing to buy certain players that we want. And if we do go and buy players, it won't be the players that we're used to seeing and going and getting. It's just going to be players that are just going to be bought and then tried to make into stars and then maybe sell for a profit down the line. That's what I think could happen possibly if it goes down that route. And as you said it as well, an owner who's literally fought everything against, as you just said, all the things you said there, racism. He's fought against all sorts of things like that, and whether we're going to get that same kind of person and culture within the football club is very doubting for me. But like Bobby said, he could pull a rabbit out of the hat. Everyone's thinking about this Swiss billionaire could be buying the football club, but then in the end, it could be someone massiver than that who's got obviously the same amount of money as Roman does, or someone who's more richer than Roman. So we got to look
I think Roman is more richer. Roman is around 16 billion, and the man is around 6 billion or so. I'm not sure how much.
No. What I'm saying is he might end up selling to someone who's either the same value as he is.
Oh,
or
okay.
more
Okay,
than
now
he
I
is.
understood.
That's what I'm trying to
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So in that kind of way, we don't know. Roman, I don't think Roman, for one reason or another, would just sell the club to just somebody who he thinks is not going to be, longevity, who's going to just take money out of the club. I'm sure he knows he's probably going to try and hopefully find somebody who's loved the club like he's loved it and started a loving to it all. And that's all I can say on the matter. I just hope whoever we get, it will be a very good owner that's done exactly what Roman has done, but slightly different, maybe. But he's not taking money out of the football club. He's just plowing money into the football club, and that would be great for everyone.
Yeah. Before I go to Bobby and Tyrone, and then let's round up this segment so we can move on. Bobby, I think if you look at the comment on the screen, that's saying hopefully we don't get consortium owning us.
Agreed.
Because that's dangerous when you have people, more than one person. Again, a decision comes down to what they all want, and then it becomes even more difficult to prioritize the club's success. Their priority usually is, becomes a profit. So go ahead, Bobby. What do you think will happen in terms of culture change, most especially if the club now become owned is owned by a consortium?
It's so difficult to say, isn't it? The culture change depends on who buys the club. The biggest concern I have in all of this is time. Roman may not have the time to get the right person. If, for example, it was a normal sale with normal profits and normal gains and things, I would be 100% sure he would get the right person. But now it is a hurried sale, clearly. Let's not, deceive ourselves. Chelsea Football Club, not only is it one of the most coveted clubs in world football, it is on perhaps one of the most expensive and wanted pieces of real estate in the world, both the training ground and the stadium. So it's not something that people won't want. So he may. That is his advantage. Debts or not, people are talking about, there's, you have to spend so much. There's so much new people could do if they can't expand upon the new stadium because of the pitch owners. Well, they could sell. They could just move and change the name to, somebody once mentioned, AFC Chelsea Football Club, and then build around the pitch. And that would drown out and strangle the pitch owners such that they would have to give up and sell. So any buyer, however you look at it, is buying something really worth having. But that aside, the question is, what kind of buyer will we get? Well, nobody really knows, and if it ends up in the wrong hands, then of course the culture will change terribly. If it ends up with the right people, they might improve upon the culture. That would be a difficult thing to do, but they might improve upon it. They might add more initiatives that will make Chelsea an even, better place to be involved with. It's highly unlikely because what Roman did is, I really can't see it being replicated, to be honest. But we just have to wait and see and pray.
Yeah, we just have to hope and pray we get an owner whose priority will be the club's success, and an owner who first and foremost will be a fan of the club. So great input for. I think it's been a great conversation so far. We have a few minutes, so we'll switch to very soon. We'll be switching to the contract situation at the club. But something came to mind. I think it was when Bobby was talking the stadium thing. I think Roman foresaw all this nonsense that's going on right now. That was probably why he didn't pump the money into that is sponsored that's the construction of the stadium, if you like to phrase it that way. Do you guys think that was one of the reasons why something he foresaw this situation and then decided not to spend that much money into building a stadium?
It was COVID, wasn't it? Let's not forget that. I mean, COVID was what threw the spanner in the works for that. More than anything else, because nobody could have really foreseen this. If he was able to foresee this, then it would be true that he's really arm in arm with Putin. It's only Putin that would be able to see what's happening now.
Yeah. What do you have to say about that, Stav? So that we can quickly switch to that's if I get Tyrone input, we could quickly switch to player contract situation.
Get Tyrone's first.
Sorry?
Let Tyrone speak first.
Okay, Tyrone, go ahead. Tyrone, what do you think?
About what?
About the possible change of culture if the club is sold to somebody who operates differently, who prioritizes profit over success, because as most entrepreneurs first, if they invest in something, they want return. Without return, they're not happy.
Yeah, and I mean it's very likely that's going to be happening. Obviously, whoever comes in, they're going to always want profits. That's basically, they're not going to go into something and not be hopeful of a profit. It's like I've been seeing people say, people who are happy about Roman having to sell a club, this could bite them on the ass because you're never going to find another Roman. He's taken losses. He's spent his personal money to help build the team and to build the club to where it is right now. Obviously, there is success before him and there may be success after him, but everything that he has done, you cannot find anybody who's going to do that, and you're going to always find a dynamic that whoever comes in after him, they're going to be working in a different way. They're going to have a different plan. They're going to want profit, because everybody these days, that's what they want. They want to go into something with the assurance that when I do this, I'm going to be getting a good return. I'm going to be getting a profit. So yes, I know that's going to be an issue, and I'm not fearful, but I do have that concern about whoever the club is sold to. Will they have a similar dynamic? Will they care about the club enough to say that, you know what, I invest in this club, I will take a couple of losses here and there, and then in a few years, maybe when things start to to find a perfect balance, then maybe I will probably see profits coming in now and I'll benefit from it. But I really do have that concern that we could see somebody come in and their total interest is, I want profit. If I'm not getting profit, then I'm going to be having having regrets, because I came to this club because I think that I could get the consistent profit. I can benefit from this club because of their reputation, because of what they've been doing for 2 decades. So I mean, I do have that concern in that regard as to whoever comes in, will they be willing to do what Roman has done and to accept a few losses, having to invest certain money and not really seeing it pay off. I really do have that concern, but I think based on everything that's been happening, it wouldn't be the first time that the club has gone through something that has really shaken it up, the fan base, or the actual supporting fan base, are not the ones that are just here because of success. And I mean, for me, obviously, I'm young, so I would have to be in the era that has seen success. But I mean, I've always, considered the fans that have been in the 90s and before, that how they felt, having to wait years before seeing that consistent success like the new era has. But I mean, it's pretty unfortunate. I do have that concern about whoever comes in. Will they be willing to accept a couple of losses in order for the club to go further and to build that consistent success?
Wow. Tyrone, I must tell you this. I always marvel at how your knowledge and you think like I know you're still very young, but your input doesn't reflect your age at all. You're very knowledgeable of the game, the club structure, and everything. And I appreciate you always finding time to join Chelsea Perspective. And if you're in the chat, if you haven't, go subscribe to Tyrone's new channel. I will provide the link to his channel so you go check it out. He has some good videos. The last one he released was saying goodbye to Andreas Christensen.
It wasn't the last one. That was from months ago. But I was saying that because the reports.
No, you shared a link. I think you shared a link about. Did you
it's not the latest one. You mean the latest post?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the latest post, but it's not the latest video. The latest video was the preview, the review of the game. But anyway, that was I'm getting closer to 200 though, so I'm happy about that.
Okay, yes, good, because you're doing a good job. So really, Stav, coming to you now, talking strictly about the potential switch in culture. That is, if we get an owner who's profit focused, how do you think that will affect the club if it happens that the club is sold to an owner who's not who doesn't prioritize the club's success but wants profit first?
Okay. My first comment before I get down to the nitty-gritty side of it, right? If somebody else comes in, you can kiss goodbye to the Chelsea Charitable Foundation, because nobody will even entertain money going into such a institution. So the person,
a lot of money, not just chicken change.
So,
go ahead.
So the people who were voicing qualms or being objectionable to the situation, right? I hope they're happy with themselves if that happens, right? Now to the nitty gritty, right? We all know that Roman, right, tends to be quiet, secretive, and it's the same thing with the club and the way the club conducts its business, right? Now this guy, it's really irritating me, right? This Weiss, yeah. Why, if Roman's approached him, I would think that Roman would be saying he wants it kept quiet, right? But there are flaws in what he said. First, he stated that Abramovich wanted too much money, right? That his price was too high. Then later on, in the same article, he says nobody knows what Roman wants for it. So he's contradicted himself there. So I'm not going to take that overly seriously, right? You all seem to have had this acceptance that it's a done deal and that it's going to be sold and all this kind of stuff. Okay, right? Now, I'm not saying it's not going to be sold, right? But I'm trying to digest what's come out. It's obvious with this situation that there may well be people interested, like you said, sharks, who think they can get in and get the club on the cheap and then make a nice hefty profit later on, right? And Roman's not going to do that, right? He's not going to do that. So I keep going back to what I said. The vast majority of stories are based around the Daily Telegraph breaking the news, okay? Daily Express, all these people, they're all quoting the Telegraph. I've not seen the BBC one, so I don't know what they're saying, right? Let's not just make an acceptance that it's happening, okay? Because there are 2 or 3 other facets that you need to take into account, right? One, if he does sell, it's not going to be a quick deal. It can't just happen like that, right? And even if he comes to an agreement with the potential buyers, then the EPL has to investigate the potential new buyers, right? And that's going to take time. Look at Newcastle United, okay? It took nearly 2 years for that, and they were rejected initially, and they had to be reinvestigated. And the only reason they got that is because the British government has its own agendas with Saudi Arabia, which we've discussed before. This isn't going to happen. This can't happen quickly, no matter what people think. If he liquidates the club, if he sells the club, and let's call it liquidates his ownership, right? The cash is easier to sanction than it is to sanction a football club employing hundreds of people in an area which has benefited greatly from the club. Because Roman's input, right, and investment has benefited everybody around that area, all the pubs, all the shops, right, the shopping centre that's just down the road from the ground, between the ground and the tube station, right? It's made the area boost business-wise.
Wow,
right?
this is clever stuff, Sav. This is clever stuff.
Yeah, I'm amazed.
Wow.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, I'm not saying he's not going to sell, but if he sells, it's going to be to a decent owner, right? Because he wants the club to survive. There may well be something like I've noticed. I think Bobby might have mentioned it as well, and I think I saw a comment in the chat, right? That he may sell with a buyback clause, okay? But it's still going to take time. It's still going to take time. You have to get it through the EPL, right? And if he turns that into cash, because it's a British club, the money's going to go through Britain. And that becomes easier to grab hold of than it is to grab hold of the football club. So don't think that even if he wants to sell, don't think it's going to happen and it's going to happen quickly. And yet, of course, because of the pressure he's getting from the British government, right? All these sharks, American ones, right, are looking at it and thinking, oh, yeah, let's get in there, let's grab it, let's get it.
They've seen blood.
Yeah, they've seen blood, right? It doesn't mean that just because there's a bit of blood floating about, right, that it's enough to kill, Now, we're still waiting on whether this charitable foundation can take over. They've had to prepare a report to give to the Charities Commission, right? So that's still up in the air, right? He may be putting feelers out so he can prepare just in case, but it's still not happening quick. It's still not happening quickly, right? Another thing, right? Bobby mentioned about someone buying it, building the ground around the pitch, calling themselves AFC Chelsea, etc., right? Now, the Chelsea pitch owners have to agree to it as well, because they have a 199-year lease on that pitch, right? Of which 25 years has expired, 1999, I think. So 23 years has expired. So you're still talking 160 odd years, 167 years to go, right, on that lease, right? And you cannot play on that pitch unless you make them happy, and for them to be happy, you've got to call the club Chelsea FC. So there's lots and lots of things, right, which would either slow down or stop any potential sale. Now, again, I repeat what I said. I don't trust the guy because he's come out and he's made it public. That's not the way Roman operates, right? If Roman's approached him and said, can you find some buyers, etc., right? That doesn't make... Why would he... Roman's not the type who's going to want him to make it public. And he's contradicted himself. First, he said he wants too much money. And then in the next breath, halfway down his statement, nobody knows how much Roman wants. I don't know what he wants, if he wants 1.5, whether he wants the debt. I don't know this, I don't know that. So he's contradicting himself. I'm taking nothing that's come direct from Matt Law and it's been bandied around and thrown around by everybody else because they have to be relevant. Their editors want them to be in on the story.
Yeah.
Right?
So
just calm down. Just calm down. Relax. Right? Don't get upset yet. right? When it comes from the club that he's looking to sell, that's when you get upset. That's when you get worried, right? That's when you let it get to you. Me, I'm calm.
Thank you very much, Stav. And that's why I love to have you, Bobby, DJ, Sav, all come ahead, all of you that understands the club structure very well and knows what's really going on. I think you made some great point right there. So I'm going to look at the poll that I put out so that we can quickly switch, because it's gone morning. It's gone past morning now. We're like 47 seconds top the hour. It's no longer blue morning. It's blue noon. And but the poll had 86% said no, they don't want Roman Abramovich to sell the club, and 14% says yes, they want Roman to sell the club. Now, I'm going to look at this comment here by Chichi Eze. She isn't just happy that somebody even said yes to Roman selling the club. Who even voted yes? That's a good question. People will always be the people, and for some reason that person said yes. Maybe they feel like the situation will force them to sell the club. And Chichi here says, I hope this sale doesn't happen. I don't know how to feel. Yeah, it's a very, very, I'm kind of confused. I don't want the man to lose his money. If what's come to worse, if he sells it, I'll always pray for him, because I've seen over time with my research that he's actually a nice person. What he's done for the state, that he was the governor then, what he's done for the UK in the UK, what he's done globally, what he's done for the Israelis. So I appreciate the man. Yeah, VJ, I know you have a reason, because you're into finances. You probably done some calculations and you feel like that is the best for the man. There's nothing wrong in it. And I voted yes because I got the button wrong. Okay, now it's understandable. Now, so we're gonna quickly switch to the transfer aspect of the whole thing. I'm gonna play the intro one time. I need to play the intro in case I want to cut the video into two, so it's easy. Yes, people, welcome back. It is still Blue Morning, and now we're going to talk about players' contract situations at Chelsea. I'll start with you, Bobby. Andreas Christensen, it's been rumored that he's already agreed terms with Barcelona. Antonio Rudiger, it's been rumored that he's in constant contact with Real Madrid. N'Golo Kante has just a year and a half or so, even a year left on his contract. What's his name? Jorginho also the same thing, and we have Captain Fantastic himself, Cesar Azpilicueta. What do we do if these guys leave and we get an owner who's profit focused, and their priority will be to first of all, because the club had a loss of 140 million plus this past year. You'd think that you'd believe that their priority would be to at least, level up things, make sure the club don't have a loss before they start spending. So what happens if we lose all these players, and then the new owner wants to make sure the club isn't at a loss before making purchases? What's going to happen, Bobby? What do you think?
Whatever happens, I'm bracing myself for the possibility that this could be the outcome. Because, one, if Roman stays, because of the uncertainty of the situation, unless something drastically happens very soon, it wouldn't make sense for him to pump money into the club. So all this hope for contracts to Rudiger and the purchase of Jules Koundé, that sort of thing, it's very likely to be at risk. Now, we have been here before. I remember in the 70s when Chelsea had problems back then, and we had to use the youth team basically, and we had people like Ray Wilkins having to be the captain at the age of 18. Then we also had the situation of the transfer ban where Frank Lampard came in, green, an inexperienced manager, ex-player, and he uses our academy boys. I think we may need to brace ourselves for another situation like that, where the academy boys will benefit because they're the people that are going to be called back from loan or wherever to try and fill the spaces. And we may need to brace ourselves for the consequences of that in terms of success on the pitch. I don't know. I really don't know. Time is the thing that's going to tell everything. Now, if we get new owners, you know, will they act quickly? Will they? It depends who the owners are. It depends how much they know about football. So the same situation will probably be there, where we will not be able to give new contracts to the players we hope we can give new contracts to, and rely upon the academy at least for a year. I mean, even in Newcastle's stage, in Newcastle's case, they had owners in that had to wait for had to see how things were going, then wait for a new transfer window before they could act. And even in the transfer window, they could act, although the situation is very different between us and them. They had to be somewhat restrained in what they do. You know, these are not good times. The only thing I know is that, you know, Chelsea Football Club, we are resilient and we are used to having challenging times. And we always know how to land on our feet. I pray somehow that Roman doesn't have to sell. And, you know, you're right. You know, the complications of selling may not be worth his time. It might be better for him, if they're going to take it away from him, to just hand it over to the fans or something like that. I don't know. You know, it is a confusing time at the moment, but thank God we have a reserve in our academy that we may have to call upon sooner than we think.
Yeah, I think that's a saving grace, if you ask me, because the fact that we have a lot of players out, that is on loan, and we have some quality in our academy. We have some players. We have some, you could say, good buyback clauses that we could easily bring back. But like you've alluded to, the whole plan of buying Jules Koundé, Tchouaméni, Declan Rice could potentially be thrown out of the window if new owner comes in and say, okay, 150, 140 million plus loss, we should watch how we spend. It becomes an issue. And whether we like it or not, that would drastically affect the quality of players we have at the club. And we will not be able to renew Rudiger's contract or even Kante's contract. I'm not really concerned about Jorginho because we have Conor Gallagher coming back possibly. But I'm concerned losing a player like N'Golo Kante, who I believe somebody like Conor Gallagher, even though they're not really the same type of player, can learn from and become even better. I think he's a great professional. Kante, we need to have him at the club for a long time. Those are the kind of players under Roman Abramovich.
Kante
they stay
still has
very
2
long.
years on his contract, mind.
Yeah, but it's still a risk. That's the thing. Yeah, it ends. Isn't it 2023? That's when Kante, 2024. It's a risk. We should be talking to him now, don't you think?
We are.
Are we talking with Kante already?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, thank you for correcting me there, Bobby. Coming to you, Stav, what do you think will happen with the plans of buying Jules Koundé, Aurelien Tchouaméni, and there's the likelihood of Kepa Arrizabalaga joining Newcastle or any other club because he wants to go to the World Cup. Jorginho leaving is not an issue. I think we're packed in that area. And Antonio Rudiger, what do you think will happen if a profit-focused owner comes in, looks at the loss, and then says, "Okay, we have to watch how we spend." I think a lot will not. That is, a lot will change. What do you think?
Right. Can I just clarify something, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Right. Forget Kante for now. The only reason people are talking about Kante is because there's a speculation that PSG are preparing an offer for him. He's got 2 years, and they're already entered talks with him, right? I need to clarify also that no that no
You're good,
owner,
Stav?
that no owner can pump money into the club anymore willy-nilly, right? When the new FFP rules come out, they will be able to put money in, but the club would get charged a luxury tax of €2 to every euro that's spent.
It gets even more complicated and difficult. Go ahead.
Right, they get charged a luxury tax for €2 for every euro that's overspent, and you're only going to be allowed to do it once or twice, and then you get expelled from UEFA competitions for 2 years. They've gone deep into it, UEFA. They've spoken with the EU. They've spoken with various employment groups and agencies, right? Because they want to close all loopholes, and that's why there's going to be a salary cap, which will be based around 65 to 70% of total income. So Newcastle thinking they can come in and spend 400 million every year for the next 5 years, right? They're going to find that that's not going to be able to happen, right? Which that's why I'm not even worried about Newcastle United and their owners. They're 10 years too late. The landscape's changed, right? Man City got caught out, but they managed to get away with a loophole, and now that loophole has been closed. Now, clubs are going to have to either have owners investing and then paying the luxury tax and only doing it for 1 or 2 years, and then they get into trouble, right? Or they're going to have to sell, yeah? So the way we look at things now is, like I said, forget Christensen, he's gone, okay? He also stated that he was offered deals by English clubs, but out of respect for Chelsea, he wasn't going to take any of them. Okay, Rudiger's going to carry on playing that game, whereby so-and-so's in touch with me, and so-and-so's in touch with me, and I'm dealing with this club and that club, etc., because basically he wants to stay at Chelsea, but he wants to leave it to the last minute and see how much he can get out of Chelsea first before he signs for anybody else. If somebody offers him more money than Chelsea have, which to date they haven't, right, then he'll go back to Chelsea. They'll say, they've offered me this, and if Chelsea go, well, that's all right, then you can go. That's when he'll go, right? So I wouldn't read too much into that one. Aspie's give Chelsea first refusal, which he stated in an interview after the Club World Cup, right? He wants to stay at Chelsea, but it's the old 30-year-old plus 1 year deal, right? Which is holding things up. I don't think it's anything to do with money, right? So don't worry about that so much at the moment. But if he goes, right, we'll just call in our buyback clause on Livramento and bring him back after another season. In another season, we have a buyback clause. We got buybacks on Gui. We got buyback on Tammy, right? Brogier's ours, Gallagher's ours, Ampadu's ours. There's other various players out, right? I'm not really bothered. Right? We will find a way, like Bobby said. We always find a way, right?
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. Thank you very much for that input, Stab. Yeah, quickly, we just have a few minutes to round up. Tehran, quickly, can you let me know what you think if new owner comes in and it's profit focused, and what do you think will happen for the plans we have to sign new players to bolster our squad? Tehran, you still with us?
Yeah. When it comes on to that, I think it's always something that you have to consider because I mean, like I was saying before, a lot of people, they want success, they want profits. If
Mhm.
they don't have a assurance that they're going to be profited by what they're going to be investing in, they do
Mhm.
consider it and they don't really go into it. They don't take that risk. It's a
Mhm.
possibility that can happen, like Bobby was saying, and what Stav was saying. With players like Rudiger and with Kante and things like that. But I think it hasn't gone to the point where you can be that fearful that it may happen. It could happen because like what I'm saying is that they will be try to be careful with the money that's being spent. So they'll try to have a better, cash flow. They don't want it to be imbalanced and you're spending what you don't have and you're spending over your budget. So obviously it's gonna there's gonna be a high possibility that can happen. Obviously it doesn't mean that you cannot sign anybody. It could be that you could try to integrate youthful players like you guys were saying, bringing back players that you have buyback clauses on, and trying to benefit from that. But I think when it comes on to that, we will lose certain players. I'm not sure who, but we're going to lose certain players out of the situation that we don't have enough funds to offer them what we probably would want to offer them, or we simply just don't want to offer what they're asking for. It is always going to you know be like that. You're gonna always have that situation where you're gonna be placed in a position where you have to decide on, I'm going to have to let go of this player for the
Mhm.
betterment of the club. If I don't do it, the club is gonna suffer, and it will be better that you let go a few players and let the club be placed back in a balance where the cash flow isn't going to be higher than is no, it won't be, you're spending more than you have. So I think there's a likelihood that we may not go for everyone that we want, but I mean, we you don't need to spend big to get good players. It's been proven over the years. I know that a lot of fans will be frustrated if we don't get Kunde or Chouameni, because I mean I want those two players, but I mean at the same time I always have to consider that the club comes first, and there's no players that are bigger than the club. The players will come and go, but the club will still be there. So I mean, if we can't get certain players, I will be fine. I won't complain and say, oh, I wanted him. Why don't we just do this and that? Because at the end of the day, the club comes first. You have to consider that the club comes first. So I I I know that there's a high possibility that we may get an owner who will say that, what, I know you want this player and you want these type of players,
Mhm.
but we're going
Mhm.
to have to make some compromises. We're going to have to make some decisions that they won't look like they're the right decisions at first, but it's for the betterment of the club. It's to benefit the club long term, because if you don't make these decisions, you're going to always have these losses and you're not going to have lots of profits. And I mean, somebody that is interested in the club, and this is just reports. I think his name is Jim Radcliffe. He's responsible for, I don't know what the name of the business is, but he's the chief executive for it, and they had recorded a 15 million loss in November of last year. So I mean, you do have people who understand that there's losses, but it also means that not everyone wants to consistently have these losses hitting them left, right, and center, and them being acceptive of it. But I know that there's some possibility that we could lose people. Obviously, you guys brought up like with Rudiger, and him playing ball game to see which club is going to be offering him more, because he said it publicly that he would like to stay at the club, but it's between the club and his representatives and things like that. And Christensen is in that same boat, even though it's more that he wants to leave, and he's trying to distance himself from that. But I mean, we lose certain players that we don't want to lose. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it's just the reality. And this is why, when people say that football is just kicking the ball, trying to score, putting the ball in the back of the net, I disagree with that, because it's gradually changing to a business-based sport. Business is in every sport, but football is the best representation of why, you can say business is taking over the sport. Business is basically taking it over, because you're seeing situations like this where you're having losses and profits and cash flow being less or higher. So it's you'll always have that possibility that we get an owner who will consider that, and at some level it's understandable that's what they plan to do, because the club comes first on it, and the club needs to be benefiting at the end of the day.
Yeah, great input right there. And before I continue, we'll be calling it a day in about 3 minutes or so, and I will be joining Matt in his new channel. He started a new channel, and he's told me to extend the invitation to everyone here that he will continue the same topic there, conversation over there. He said it's going to be an open panel. So Matt, thank you very much for the extending to the invitation to everyone here. Bobby, I'm coming to you now. And is there hope? I know you said before that we've been through this kind of situation before, and Chelsea, we usually, come through it even stronger. Is there, given the current situation, do you see hope? Do you see a brighter future for Chelsea still, no matter the situation?
Honestly, anybody that has any, that follows my social media, the only place I'm active a little bit is Twitter, to be honest. The rest I can't be bothered with. We'll see that over the past few days, I've been concerned. Yesterday, I think I must have gone on 3 different streams talking about this. It's bothered me. I love Roman. I'm a pure Chelsea fan, and I'm also somebody that doesn't like seeing injustice. I don't like seeing conflict in the world. I certainly don't like seeing children getting killed, anybody getting killed. That's just not something for me at all.
Yeah, a life is a life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the whole thing has just left me feeling really bad. But this morning I woke up and I said, you know what, sometimes, this is life. Sometimes these things will happen. There is no guarantee for things to go smoothly. And if my life experience has ever taught me anything, is out of adversity comes forth hope. And out of adversity comes forth new beginnings. We had this with Chelsea time and time and time again. From the time of the beginnings, really, the mid 50s and 60s, when they had to use their youth team then, and that youth team won them the championship, although with some a few experienced players here and there. And they continued, and then they won the League Cup in '65, and they were disbanded. And then another set of youth came, and they won the FA Cup in '70, and they won the Cup Winners' Cup in '71, and then they and were runners-up in the League Cup in '72, and then they went down and were disbanded for financial reasons. And a new set came, captained by Ray Wilkins, and they were yo-yoing a bit between the first and second division, as it was in those days. And then they came back and started to build. And in the early 90s, we got back to an FA Cup final, albeit we weren't really strong enough, and we met a very strong Man United team. We lost, and people were upset, because even though we were beaten 4-0, there was always that hope for us that, look, it would be better. And then in '97, we suddenly got back on track, and we won the FA Cup. And '98, the Cup Winners' Cup and the League Cup, and the story continues. Why I'm saying this is that, fortunately for us, we have a strong reserve in youth players in the academy. And if we find ourselves in a situation, we don't really need much anyway. We've got very experienced and good players on contract as it is. It's just that there are some players that people were thinking would be sold. Well, that's not going to happen. And some players that people were thinking will be bought. Well, that might not happen, and that will only happen if we're in a position to sell these players that we thought could be sold. So we may have to rely upon a lot of the academy boys. Certainly, if we lose the likes of Rudiger, which I pray we can still pull off, and there's really very little reason why we can't pull it off. And Aspie, I don't even talk about Christensen because I do believe he is going to go. So where are we? I just think where Chelsea are used to dealing with adversity, and we will come through this. We will. Will Roman stay? I hope so. If he goes, let's see how that pans out. I don't think he's going to betray us. And even if he doesn't have time to sell properly, I think he will sell in such a way that there will be of benefit for us.
I think that's assuring. We have strength. We've come that is experienced such you could call it adversity. I don't know how else to phrase it, and we've come out stronger and even better. And I see a good future at Chelsea still, no matter the situation. And Stav, over to you and Bobby. I can't thank you enough for this because it's been a brilliant discussion. I learned a lot. I didn't even know that Chelsea at some point got banned, used the youth team and all that history. I think I'd have to rewatch this video again later on to learn because there's quite a lot to learn from it. And I appreciate you always. So, Stav, coming to you again, the same question I asked Bobby: is there hope? Do you think things will get better? But we have to be realistic. Right now, it looks bleak. It looks as if we're headed towards into a bad situation. What do you have to say? Give us hope, if I may put it that way.
Yeah, like I said, the one guy whose name's come out, right? I wouldn't read too much into it because he's talking too much publicly, and he's contradicting himself. And until I start hearing some names, right, other than his concrete names, I'm going to just wait till the weekend, 3 or 4 days, they said. If nothing comes out of it, then I'm going to stop worrying. I noticed comments by Mikhail in the bottom, right? It may well suit Roman, right? The whole point of him stepping away was to take the attention away from the club, right? And yet it's still there, right? So it's not going away, taking the attention. So he's not going to be able to sell it, like I said, easily and quickly. So hang on. And like Mikhail said, anything that the government tries to do, contest it in the courts. But I would again point out what I said yesterday, that Roman has not been right on the sanctions lists of the United States, okay, up to this point.
And that speaks volumes. That means a lot.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, right? And the British are tending to follow what the Americans have done. And there's a long string of names in the American one, right, which they can get on with and get up on. If that idiot Chris Bryant shuts up in Parliament, then there's no real issue, right? It's just that he keeps dragging it up. But that's to make himself relevant, right? Give it 3 or 4 days before you all go into a blind panic. And if something comes out with names, actual names, right, then start thinking about it. But right now, I'm not thinking about it because I don't want to listen to that Weiss because, like I said, he's talking too much. It's not the Roman way to deal with people who talk too much. And he's contradicted himself in his statement with regards to what Roman allegedly wants, and what then says he doesn't know how much he wants. So it's too patchy. Right now, it's too patchy. It's just a case of the media have picked up the story from the Telegraph and they're all running with it because they need to be relevant, because they need to keep their editors happy, right? Until you see something more concrete, right, don't worry about it. Just stay calm. I'm not worrying about it. Anyway, like Bobby said, I've been around for 52 years, right? And I've seen far worse than this. We were right down on our haunches when we went into debt in the 70s, right? It looked like we were going to die. And then again, we were going to die when Roman came in, and we survived again thanks to Roman, right? And I've just learned to take things with a pinch of salt that comes with the media, right? And rich men, right? When we did the deal with Roman, hardly anybody knew about it. It just happened, right? Ken Bates said it didn't name anybody initially, and it just happened like that. Nobody knew who Roman was, or why he was coming in, or how the whole deal was done. It had something to do with Bruce Buck and Trevor Birch, I think it was at the time. Right? They knew each other, and that's how the whole thing came about. So
Yeah.
Roman will not do anything that will endanger the club.
I believe so. I truly do believe so. And thank you.
He also has to think about the position of Bruce Buck, Marina, Edek, all that lot. So let's just wait and see. Right? Let's stay calm for a few more days at least, and then take it when there's more substance to the story.
Yes. And again, a very good comment here by Just Viola. On your channels, please make an appeal to all Chelsea fans not to spread propaganda. Unfortunately, we were too immersed into the conversation, but we didn't see any question to address. This is supposed to be an interactive show. We looked at some of them, in which case perhaps, okay, so that's just a follow-up comment. Here, Mikhail says, I don't see how UK government will allow Roman to get paid if they are targeting him for sanctions. Seems to be an ambush. Very correct. That's a very good one. That Tobago, I pray and I hope we get an owner who loves Chelsea Football Club like Roman does. And Tobago, I wanted to give you a chance to speak, but you left before I could even do that. The wrong owners will lead to an attrition of foreign players, but hopefully we can tie down the academy prospects to come into first team and get their chances more. Will the academy survive though? That's a question for another day. I get that, Mikhail. And again, some good questions, but this is such a sensitive and emotional topic that we were immersed in it and didn't have the time to interact with those in the chat, except for the poll that they finished. And again, I have to say thank you to you all, from Just Viola to Matt to TCFC. I haven't seen you before, and if this is your first time here, please do smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It will help us grow. Steve Chelsea, I appreciate you. Mikhail, always here advising me, also supporting the channel whenever he can. Every other person that were here, if I left you out, please apologies. I'm only a human. And also VJ from Sportswire, I appreciate your Tire Talks. I will make sure to leave your complete information in the description section. I would do the same for Bobby's. I will leave Bobby's complete information in the description section, and Stav's complete information in the description section. So Stav, I did not forget you today. And Matt, it looks like there's a setting that strips off the link you share. Do share the link on Twitter so I can also tag others there so that we can come see the new channel and celebrate with you. It's always good to see that the content Chelsea content producing, you can say the Chelsea community is growing. That's a good thing. So I am happy for you. And with that, I say, God bless us all. And if you do pray, please keep praying for those in Ukraine so that God will help protect them all. It's a very, very dangerous situation over there. Kids have died and a lot has happened that shouldn't be happening. With that, I say, God bless you all, and I hope to see you guys again. And Ankit, I understand you're very busy because you're a content creator yourself. And if you don't know it, guys, Ankit just got monetized. So congratulations to him. And he will hit 2,000 subscribers in a few days. He's been doing great. I appreciate you. So again, God bless us all. It is Blue Morning, and we'll have another Blue Morning show tomorrow. And I'm planning to introduce Blue Noon so that on Saturdays it will not be Blue Morning, it will be Blue Noon. Thank you very much again. God bless us all, and bye.